Hello, and I would like to really discuss the latest Hearthstone balance changes. Mainly, I want to talk about Darkglare because it upsets me horrendously greatly to see Darkglare in a real combo warlock in this kind of style where everything happens on one turn, a la Gadgets and Rogue, to just disappear. It's one of the decks that I've enjoyed playing the most in Hearthstone Wild format for a long time. Uh, Raza Priest is obviously a wonderful deck to play. It teaches you a lot about balancing your resources and mechanics, but it's not pull everything out of the water in one turn suddenly unless you already know and you've set up your kill turn way in advance. Whereas the Dark Glare combo Warlock, it worked so absolutely beautifully. Um, I've of course had a variety of lists already, including the one with Penflinger and tons of small self damaging creatures to turbo through your resources, as well as more weighty lists with a few more choice tech cards. Um, this deck simply had a lot really nice going for it. There was a core set of cards, and then you really got to build around it. So there was a lot of teching possibilities. There was a lot of countering possibilities for the meta, which again made it such a nice building choice because Darkglare was so damn powerful, and I look at it in its current iteration as a 2 mana 2/3, which makes me incredibly sad, and it just no longer looks like an epic card. It looks like something that's okay. That's kind of cool. Yeah, it looks like an epic from our basic and standard sets. That it just we threw it in like the good old days, and it's unfortunate because they could have nerfed it in a variety of other ways. Even something as brutal as putting it up to 5 mana could have been really well. It would have just stalled that deck and allowed other decks to collect their options. And this is where I want to talk quickly about countering Dark Glare. Because personally, although occasionally I've been run over by it, I've been pretty consistently able to deal with Dark Glare and the big boards they able to to pump out turns 3, 4, and 5. It happens. Bad luck. Sometimes the opponent just wins. I get that it feels uninteractive to some players, but let them play against a Raza priest, and then suddenly when they're approaching turn 15, 16, 17, when they've played their Raza, they've played their Anduin, and you're just waiting to die. It's simply, I get that those situations aren't fun, but both decks have counters. Play some counters. Do some things that will give people a shock. Hold on to, in my Turtle Mage, I hold on to Frost Nova. It's just a simple thing. You're like, look at that, and now everything's a turn slower. Or Shadow Word Ruin or Lord Barov. There are many ways to deal with this, and I love that it had consistency. It gave the meta a focus as to there's two strongest decks. There's a Raza Priest, which is difficult to counter because it runs 30 separate cards, and then there is Darkglare, which is super predictable in its main gameplay, not super predictable in its tech cards. I ran across a whole bunch of turtle mages at some point, which was very entertaining. Put one living fire in there. Drop one cult neophyte. Put one living fire breath, and suddenly your entire deck changes. And a good player who is capable of assessing the meta and making fun little tech choices is rewarded. Whereas Raza, there's not really much to change in the list overall. It's 30 cards. If you're going to take something out and put something else in, normally you're taking out a tech choice to put in a tech choice. Whereas this, you kind of had to find a holistic balance. There was also a wonderful Dark Glare discard Warlock deck that I really enjoyed because of the sheer pace with which you could, well, draw your entire deck. But again, I've lost more than one game when suddenly the druid went, oh, by the way, naturalized Cold Light Oracle, and everything looked very, very different. And well, the same applies to burst damage. You are drawing yourself to infinity and decking yourself out to infinity. So at some stage you've got to just think there are weaknesses to this, and bad luck. Sometimes people have nuts turns, but I've had openings with my with Kingsbane Rogue where I'm not going to lose. The same is true of aggressive druid. The same is true of so many decks. Think of Pirate Warrior before this expansion. It was just, and this time I've won. Bad luck. You've got your Reno with a coin on turn 5, and it wasn't good enough. So I don't think the overpowered board states are a thing to really complain about. Possibly design space going forward. I understand a little bit more in relationship to Darkglare being nerfed, but mostly it feels like a card that was built to be too powerful for the release of an expansion, and then they possibly always knew that they were going to have to get rid of it, which just seems disappointing for Blizzard to do. And in addition to this, honest to goodness, if the comments from the Blizzard balance team are to be believed, they say that this is a nerf for Wild, which makes me personally quite angry, because don't nerf Wild. It's called Wild. We have our Hall of Fame cards, which aren't that spectacular anymore, but we have powerful combos, incredible things, and that's what it should be. When somebody sees Wild Hearthstone as opposed to Standard, they should go, wow. It should be an eye-opening moment where you go, oh wow, there are 2,700 odd cards available, and there are insane things that you could in theory do with them. That's good. I don't want to show somebody Wild and go, this is Raza Priest, and they go, oh, this feels very similar to what's happening in Standard, but all a bit slower because you're having to counter more things. Let Wild have its own identity, and Darkglare was a hell of an identity, because everybody knew you do have to be able to beat Darkglare, and then you need to be able to counter the priests too. It had some really nice dynamic to it, and now, unfortunately, Blizzard takes it away and gives us a 2-mana 2/3. Which refreshes 1 mana crystal, which might still be occasional fun, but now it becomes like, I'd almost compare it a bit to Hobgoblin. It's the kind of thing that you have to build a deck around, but isn't good enough to actually build a deck around. Hashtag demolish a Hobgoblin, but that's just my personal favourite priest deck of all time. So now we sit here with a barely playable card in fringe decks that build around damaging yourself but won't really be good enough to do it. What a pain. Have a lovely day. Please let me know in the comments if you have any other thoughts on Darkglare and my complaining about its nerf. Have a lovely day, and we'll talk about some of the other nerfs another time. Bye bye bye.